All right, CNT 120, we're working our way through Chapter 4 Lab. We're looking at Part 2 now with ARP, and we're going to look specifically at the ARP header and the ARP table on our machines. So I'm going to start off by using the Wireshark capture I had from the last part. I'm going to clear the filter that I have here, and I'm just going to put a filter in to look at only the ARP packets that happen to be out there. And what I want to do is I'm going to look for one of the ARP packets, but I'm going to look for one that actually has a source, MAC address, and a destination of a broadcast. Because this should be, if I highlight this should be, if I look down here under the ARP header, this should actually be a request, an ARP request. That's what I'm actually looking for. So look for an ARP request there. And now I'm going to look at, in the ARP header, the sender MAC and the sender IP address. So this is who issued this ARP message. So the sender MAC is coming from a specific MAC address out there of a device, and the sender IP is coming from a node, a 172.23 node on the network. Now I'm going to look at the target MAC and the target IP. Well, if I look at the target IP, it's going to a specific IP address, 172.23 blah, but the target MAC is all filled in with zeros. It's almost like a blank or an empty line. That's saying, hey, I know the IP of who I'm looking for, but I don't know the MAC, which is the purpose of this ARP packet. That's the purpose of that. So I'm also going to look at, while I'm here, if I go look at the Ethernet header, and I think I have you do this too, if I look at the Ethernet header, I will see the source is coming from a specific node. The destination is a broadcast, all Fs. So this is a ARP packet that came from a specific node trying to go out across the network, trying to go to this node, but it doesn't know the MAC address, so it has to broadcast. So it broadcasts it out, and then it leaves this empty as a, hey, please fill it in for me. I don't know that address. That's what's going on there. That's what's going on. Now, our machines do need IP and MAC addresses to be able to contact things. So as it learns them, as it does these ARP messages out across the network, it's going to learn them and put them in its ARP table. So if I open my command prompt on my Windows machine here, and I do ARP-A, this will show all the IP to MAC address mappings it has learned since it's been turned on, earlier today. Here's the IP addresses and the MAC addresses of nodes it's learned. And now it does not have to ARP for them. It knows them and can just fill them in when it goes to send data. The same is true on our Linux machine. I'll come over here and wake it back up because it's been sitting here for a while. Clear the screen off, and I will do an ARP on this guy too, and it'll show the IP address to MAC mapping. A little bit smaller because it's a virtual machine, but it's still, these are IP addresses and MAC addresses it has learned and mapped together. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to save my ARP table on my Windows and my Linux. So on my Windows machine, I will come over here. I will highlight my ARP output, ARP-A output. And remember, if I do the Enter key, that copies it. I will open up my notepad. I will paste it in, and then I will just save this to my desktop for adding to as the lab goes on. So I'll do a save as. I'll go out to my desktop, and I will call this guy, I think I call him Chapter 4 Lab Windows kind of thing. I think that's what I have you calling it. Just to take a peek here, Chapter 4 Lab Windows, yep. And I'll make sure that it is a TXT on the end. Actually, there it is, save as a TXT. So I will save that to the desktop so I have that to add to it. And I will do the exact same thing over here. I'll highlight all this. I will just do Edit Copy. I will open up my accessories. Under accessories, I have a text editor. And I'm going to do right-click paste. And I will do the same thing here. I will do a save as. I will make sure it goes to my desktop here. Chapter 4 Lab Linux. And I'm going to add the TXT extension. That way it definitely is readable by D2L when I submit it. So there's looking at the ARP protocol and looking at ARP tables on both Windows and Linux.